Today I'm going to demonstrate Spectator Mode, and it will trigger when you die. So we're teleporting into a world like a reserve server. We're going to fight the last man standing. If you die, you go into Spectator Mode until somebody wins. So this world right here, I made it available. You can copy it. I'll put this link in the description, hit these three dots, hit edit, and then you'll have this little starter world here. And what that gives you is a very simple game manager. Let's take a look at that real quick. So the game manager, when people are added to the world, we are going to come in here, get the number of players, increment it, and then we're going to insert those players into a table for the players in the match, right? And then we're going to trigger the other side for spectator mode. I needed to give a little bit of infrastructure so you could see how it could be used. Spectator mode is really easy. You could do that in like one line of code, right? So let's go back to this and let's build our little UI for our spectator mode, and then we'll hook up the back end, the game manager, to our UI. So let's go to Starter GUI, Screen GUI, and I'll do a text button down here. That will be my next button. All right, so let's go here and hit next button. If that'll change, there we go, next button. And let's change, keep the size the same, change the font, make that bangers. Let's see, text, we need to change that. We need to make it like next. I'm gonna do a dash arrow so we can see that it's implying that we go to the next person. Let me put oh, you know what? Let's round the corners. See how those are square corners? This is a relatively new Roblox feature. Hit the plus sign, hit corner, and it's called Corner UI. What is that? COR. There we go. Corner UI. And now we can round the corners, and you can change the radius of the round too, right? You could do the scale or the offset. 8's pretty good. 8 pixel offset for rounding is good. Or what is it? That's pure pixels, and this is the scale to the object. I thought that was cool. Let's go ahead and add text label. I won't bother rounding that. I just wanted to show you that because I thought it was kind of new. And what do we got? Let's change the name. Text label, we'll call that spec label. So that's going to give you who you're spectating, and it's also going to be used to announce the winner. Let's see, let's make that bangers too. There we go. And text, we're going to change that with code. Let's just make the text bigger. I'm not going to change colors or anything. Cool. So let's get our next button and then hit control click on the spec label. We're going to make those invisible because we only want it to pop up. Oh, where's my visible? Here it is. We only want it to pop up when the person is in spectator mode, and I'll have this pop up when there's a winner. So both of them pop up in spectator mode. Now I'm going to show you probably the most important thing to remember. Because we're attaching the spectator mode to a died event, to a character, we're going to do a character added event actually. When we add the character, we're going to go into spectator mode. Make sure the screen GUI reset on spawn is disabled, because what's going to happen is you're going to do stuff with your UI, you're going to respawn, and it's all going to be gone, and you're not going to know why. So just make sure you get that. Reset on spawn is off. Cool. Now I need a little bit of game logic. So on the screen GUI, I click that pretty quickly there, hit a local script, and then we'll do a spectator script, right? Cool. So remember, let's go over to the game manager, right? Here's our game manager and server script service. We want this basically right here when the died event happens to talk to our UI. So whenever a server goes to talk to a client, we need a remote event, right? We need a remote event. There needs to be a doorway between the client and the server. So let's go to replicated storage. That's where remote events like to live. And I'm going to add 2. I'm going to add 1 remote event and then a second. The first one is going to be an update players. That's going to be update players in match. I'll just say update players RE. And that's going to be sent out to everybody. So if somebody dies, when they respawn, they're no longer in the match. And everybody needs to know, because some people might already be in spectator mode. The second one is going to be just for the person who died. I'm going to say spec RE. That's going to send us to spectator mode. So we have 2 of those. And let's go ahead and get references to those. And now I'm in my game manager. I'm on the server side, server script service, game manager. We got to put it on both sides, client and server. So we'll get our replicated storage, right? That's a singleton instance, right? That replicated storage right there. And then we're going to get our update players, RE, in replicated storage. We'll wait for child, speech quotes. I'm terrible at spelling, so I'm just going to copy the name because the name has to be right, right? So give me my name. There we go. Update players RE. I'm going to do the same thing for the spec RE. Wait for child, quotes, spec RE. I could have spelled that one. Control C, and there we go. Cool. And I want all of this information. I want this on the client side. I'm going to pass it all over to the client. So I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go to my spectator. I'm going to paste it. Control V. Cool. All right. Finish our game manager. Let's finish our game manager. We need that to look the same on both sides, right? We need the doorway between the client and the server being on the same page. Let's go down. Teleport when ready is fine. Remove player from match. That makes sense. When they die, we're going to remove the player from the match. We're going to do everything in on player added. Right, so on player added, in the died event, you might want to handle the winner. I'm not going to. That can be up to you if you want to. I'm going to do everything down here. I'm going to do player. So if somebody dies, I'm going to get the character added event and connect it to a function that's going to make that's going to send stuff to the UI. So we had our update players RE. And I'm going to fire, what I'm going to do, fire all clients. And I don't need to send a player in because we're going to send it to everybody. I'm going to send over the players in match. Now that's being populated already, right? I did that on this side. I gave that code to you, right? And you can look to see how it's done. And I'm going to also send the number of players because it's not trivial to get it from some types of tables. It's trivial if it's in a list, but I just keep track of that separately. All right, and then I have my spec RE. Let's do that. Let's do spec RE. This is for the guy who died, only the person who died. So I'm going to do fire client. I need to pass in the player who died because that's going to send it right to him. And then I'm going to put this stuff in there too. Right? And the reason I'm doing that, the reason I'm duplicating that effort, this might get there before this, but because there are remote events that are being fired, order is not guaranteed. The spec RE might get there first. You might get an outdated list, right? So I need to send everything over separately just so I can guarantee that they'll both get there on time. So that's cool. That's all we have to do on the server side. Let's go over to our client. And we already got our variables in there. We need a few more, right? We need one for the next button, right? Script.parent, and then there's a next button in here. And then we'll do one for the spec label. Did I label this? Yeah, there we go. There's a spec label here. So we'll say spec label, script.parent.spec label. I need an index of which player I'm observing. So I'm going to do just PLY IDX, and I'll set that to 1. I'm also going to need the camera, right? Because that's the key to spectator mode. Camera, workspace, current camera. Cool. And then let's see, I'm going to do a few functions. I'm going to do local function. I'll call this view in spec. So we're viewing in spectator mode. I'm going to put a variable here called increment because sometimes I'm going to want to go to the next player, but sometimes when I just go into spectator mode, I'm not going to increment. I'm just going to look at the first person who is alive in my players in match list. So this is where we'll use that. We'll say player index plus equals increment. So we may increment it, we may not increment it. It's only going to be 0 or 1. I'll say if the player index does get to be more than the number of players in the game, then let's set that to 1. We'll say player index will now be reset to 1. So it's a little loop. It's not going to overwrite. It's not going to go too far. Now, somebody could die at just the right moment and have a problem. We'll have a problem with that, right? So what we're going to do is our players in match, we're going to check to see if it exists. We're going to say if player index for the player in the match exists, then we'll go look at them, right? We have a lot going on here. So we have a spec label text. That's our spec label. We're going to change that. We're going to say viewing. I'm going to do a space, string concatenator. Let's paste, oh, let's not paste that. Let's paste this. Copy this. Put that there. And then do a dot name so that we get the text for the name of the character we're observing, our player that we're observing. I'm going to get the character separate because remember we have died events. When you have died events, things get assembled slowly. So, oh, we can just do a control V because that is still in the buffer. Players in match, player index, character. And then maybe we'll do a character or character added. Let's do that on the second line. Character added weight, just in case it doesn't get there in time. Now we need the humanoid, and that's in the character. We'll do a weight for child. Humanoid. Cool. And here's the magic line. Camera subject. So really, all you really need to know for spectator mode is camera subject just pointed at some humanoid in the game. Boom, you're in spectator mode. So this is one line of code. I could have made that very simple, but integrating it into a game is not simple, and that's why I'm doing this. And just to make this a little bit more robust, because we have a died event, maybe the camera is not available. Unfortunately, that happens. So I'm going to repeat this process. I'll do a little wait if something goes horribly wrong until camera subject, control C, there we go, equals the humanoid. So this is an assignment, a single equals. Humanoid is going to be assigned to the camera subject. This is a comparison. So, hey, has it already happened? There's two equal signs. That's for comparison. Now, this may not have a value, right? Things can happen. The guy could be dead. All of a sudden, you're in spectator mode. You're just getting ready to look at him. Boom, that guy died. Oh, man. So we need to do an else. Else something goes terribly wrong. So we'll just wait a very split second. And then I'm going to do a view in spec again. And I'm going to send 1 over. So the increment will go to the next player. So this is a recursive call. This is calling itself. You can run into trouble with that if you don't take precaution. Since we're going to the next player every time, eventually we're going to hit a player, so we'll be fine. But I put that wait in there just so it didn't tie up all the resources. Because this can happen, like, this could go through millions and millions of times before the character respawns, and you could freeze up your game. All right, now we need to catch those events from the server side, right? We have this cool little function, but we're not doing anything with it. We're going to have 3 events. We're going to have our update RE. Is that what I called it? Update players RE, right? We got that. We got to do something with that. We have our spec RE, right? I'm putting these down here because I'm terrible at remembering stuff. And then we have our next button, right? We can hit our next button so we can see other people. And let's put those there so I don't forget them. So here what I'm going to do, I am going to do a dot, and then I'll do an on client event. So when that fired on the game in the game manager, we can catch the client event here, and I will connect that to an anonymous function. We have players and numbers coming through, players and the number of players coming through. Remember over here in the game manager, we sent these two variables. Well, we're going to catch them in these two variables. I changed the name a little bit. That's usually typical. And then I'll do the players in match and assign that players to it. Whoops, players. There we go. And then I have my numbers of players. I'll assign num to that. Oh my gosh, it keeps doing that autocorrect. Cool. All right, now, I'm not really doing a lot of handling for winners. I probably should do that on the game side, on the game management side, but I'm going to do it here. I'll say if number of players is greater than 1, then we're going to do stuff. Oh wait, we don't want to do that here. We want to make this equal 1 right here, right? We had a winner, right? This is updating everybody. This is updating the guy that died. So we're going to update everybody. Say, hey, there's a winner. Let's make the next button the visibility to false, because we don't want to be in spectator mode. Someone won. Then I'm going to get the spec label. I'm going to make sure that is visible, true. Then I'm going to get my spec label, and I'm going to get the text. I'm going to say winner is ... We'll have players in match. Oh, and this we could just make 1 because there's only one guy left, right? So it's going to be 1. Now you could run into some problems with that. I mean, there's going to be situations where you could probably have 0 players by the time this fires, but this is fairly robust. I don't think you'll have too much trouble with it. There we go. So we announced the player. All right, down here, well, this part's going to be exactly the same. Let's copy that. Let's put this here, Control V, and we'll put an end here. Cool. So we're updating our players in match and our number of players. If you'll notice over here in the spec RE, I'm in the game manager, we sent the player, but that's just saying, hey, we want to send this event to that player, just that player. So we don't need to catch that here. By default, it's going to be gone. We just need to catch those 2 other arguments. So, and that messes me up a lot sometimes. Now we'll check to see if the number of players is greater than 1. Then we'll go into spec mode. So we're going to get our next button. We need to make that visible. That'll be true. We got to get our spec label. Let's make sure that's visible, true. And then we're going to do our view in spec. I'm just going to make that 0. We don't need to increment to anybody because we're not seeing anybody right now. So we're just going to take the first person. Cool. And we got one more thing we got to handle, right? We got our next button. That's going to go to the next person when we're in spectator mode. So we'll say when this is activated, when we clicked it, I'm going to do a little function here, a little anonymous function. I'm going to say view in spec. And this one I want to increment, right? Because we want to go through the list. So that 1 right there is going to make our players go through this list right here. Cool. All right, we're good to go. Let's go ahead and try it. I'm going to go to the test server, and I'm going to hit, I have 3 players. I'm going to hit start. I'm going to pause my video because that's going to take a long time because I have a really slow computer. Here we go. We're starting up. And I have 3. The third one is off to the side here. Here, I can pull it over so you can see that it's there. My computer's really laggy. All right, so there we got 3 people in here. They're in the lobby. We're going to teleport. Boom, we teleported. I'm going to make this guy die. I'm going to go, let's see here. Reset character. Boom, he died. So you can see it happened over here too. And when he comes back, boom, we're in spectator mode. We're reviewing player 2, this guy right here, right? So if I hit next, now you're viewing player 3. He's on the other side. You can't see him, right? You can see him here though. If I go over here, see, there he is. And there we go. 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. Let's kill off another one. So also I check, make sure, let's see, go here, reset him. Boom, reset. There, nice. Winner is player 3. Sweet, and there's player 3 right there. That's pretty good. Hope you have some good luck with this. Let me do a cleanup here. And I reiterate the important part of spectator mode. So you could do this video in like 5 minutes if you just did some buttons. This is the important part right here. And you wouldn't even have to do this repeat if you were just doing the buttons. It's the died event that makes it a little bit difficult. So good luck with that. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you in the next video.